The people of Seattle pay taxes. Those taxes are supposed to ensure that police, fire, and emergency medical services are available to them. But when Seattle allowed the CHAZ to exist, this autonomous zone, it effectively cut off many people from these emergency services because these extremists were barricading the space. Cops, ambulances, fire departments struggled to get in. Businesses suffered. Now we have a story. A man's fighting back. Dad of Seattle CHOP shooting victim files $3 billion in claims against the government. And I hope he wins. I tell you this, man. I watched the videos of Kenosha where an individual got shot in the head, and you can see him whimpering and crying as he dies. And it's brutal and it's hard to watch. And I have seen these things in real life. I've seen people carry dead bodies out of conflict zones. But I will tell you this, man. You can look at these photos, and some people don't have the strength to watch someone cry as they die. But there's nothing, the hardest thing to look at is this photo right here. A man whose son is dead. It's much harder to look at. Knowing seeing that pain. The people whose lives are destroyed as their loved ones are taken from them. And yes, I absolutely mean people like Jacob Blake. He's paralyzed, he's alive. People like George Floyd. And I absolutely mean these two people in Wisconsin, and of course this man's son. As most of you know, you follow my content, I oppose the death penalty. I don't want anyone to die. It's so difficult to try and understand that even when there are some people who might be bad people, there is extreme pain that I would never wish on my worst enemies. Now, of course, I think this guy, look, I do think that some people might be more deserving than others, 100%. Even though I oppose the death penalty, there's some really awful people out there, and I'm like, I get it. I get it. When people are like, those are the people that, should face the death penalty. I get it. I do. And I understand self-defense. I understand if there's someone who's a clear and present danger, you may have to kill them. This guy's son wasn't one of those people. He was just down there, and I guess he got killed. I don't know anything about his son. And regardless of the circumstances of death, I think it's always tragic. Always. So my main point with this, we'll read the story, is just, I can see a video of someone who's seriously injured. I can see these gruesome conflicts, and it is hard to watch. But man, when I saw this photo of this guy with tears in his eyes, his son is dead. It's substantially harder to look at. It is. This is the kind of stuff we don't want to happen. And I feel like these dumb kids who are running around playing games, thinking that it's all fun and games to bring a hammer to a car dealership, smash up buildings, and burn them to the ground. To see an image of people whose lives are completely destroyed, that is harder to look at. They say the father of a 19-year-old man who was fatally shot inside the CHAZ has just filed $3 billion in claims against local and state governments for allegedly allowing an atmosphere of lawlessness that resulted in his son's death. Horace Anderson, 50, lost his special needs son, Lorenzo Anderson, on June 20th in a shooting incident that also injured a 33-year-old man. I just want to see justice for my son, Horace told the Post, noting that no arrests had been made yet for the killing. Somebody has to be held responsible. Something is not right, and my son should still be alive today. Lorenzo was shot multiple times and laid bleeding to death in the Seattle streets with no one to respond. Alleged papers filed with Horace's separate $1 billion claims against the city, King County, and the state of Washington. Confusion and blockades led to a 20-minute delay before first responders finally arrived on the scene. Only after Good Samaritans had already taken Lorenzo to the hospital, the claim papers filed Wednesday allege. With no assistance to rescue from Seattle first responders, Lorenzo died in agony from his wounds, claim the documents filed by lawyer Evan Oshin say. He didn't have help. He needed help, Horace told the Post. He needed me, and I wasn't there for them. I see these stories. George Floyd, Eric Garner, Michael Brown, Breonna Taylor. I see them, and I understand the anger and the pain, but we cannot allow people to inflict more rage and turn that rage into a plague that infects everyone else and makes everyone else angrier. This is the scariest thing to me. Somebody gets angry, and that anger transfers to someone else, and in their anger, they create more anger. There's a story that I often tell periodically. Maybe some of you haven't heard it, so I'll just try and be quick with it. But I was taking a cab ride once from Manhattan to Brooklyn. These cab drivers in New York, they hate going to Brooklyn because they're not allowed to pick up rides across the river. Each borough has their own. I guess, Manhattan has yellow cabs and the outer boroughs have the green cabs. So these cabs will pull up and they'll crack their window and say, where are you going? You say, Brooklyn, they'll speed off. They're not allowed to do it. They do. But I once got into a vehicle and the guy asked me where I was going. And I said, Brooklyn. And boy, was he angry. And so he drove like kind of a dick. And it was a very unpleasant ride. And the guy was complaining the whole time. And when we finally got to my apartment in Brooklyn, he was furious. I tipped him 100% on top. And his demeanor changed immediately. And he just said thank you to me several times and blessings to my family. And I said, I hope that extra money will cover the cost of you making it back to Manhattan. And the reason I did this was this guy was clearly having a bad day. I don't know anything about him. But I was worried, not so much about benefiting him, but making sure that rage stopped. And I thought to myself, if I stiff this guy on the tip because he was a bad driver, he's going to be angry the entire time. And now he's going to go pick somebody up. He's going to be mean to them. They're going to get mad. They're going to show up. And that anger is going to spread like a disease. But I thought if I can make this guy happy and make his day amazing, then he's going to drive back with a smile on his face. He's going to pick someone up who's probably might be grumpy. It's a hard day at work. And he's going to smile and say, I'm sorry you're having a bad day. Cheer up. Things can be better. And if I can make that guy happy, maybe I can spread happiness like a disease. Or disease probably sounds a bit negative, but I was like, maybe if this guy just feels good, then the next person he gives a ride to will also leave with a better feeling. And we can end that cycle of pain and rage. So when I see these instances like George Floyd, I'm absolutely sad. But if we allow people to get angry and then they take that anger from watching that video and go around and smash up buildings and burn things down, take over the CHAZ, it results in more pain and more rage. And when does it end? What was the CHAZ? The CHAZ was a bunch of people using the killing of George Floyd as an excuse for their stupid utopianist nonsense. And they occupied this territory, and the city said, fine. And now this man lost his son. And what about his pain? What about his son? Did his son's life matter? It did. So I hope he takes the city for all they're worth. Now, I don't want, suffering to come to the residents, but the city needs to be held responsible for allowing this. But it is true. If he sues this city and he wins and he takes money out of, important programs and the police department, and it'll result in more rage and more chaos and more suffering. It's a difficult situation. So I don't blame him for suing. I hope he gets something out of this. I hope he gets closure. But it's an example of how the cycle just won't stop. He said everyone was walking around with guns. It was like the wild, wild west. Normally, you figure the police come in and they shut it down and clean up the area. I never knew that people could come in and take over a whole city. That means there is no safety. The police aren't doing their job. That's right. A week after Lorenzo's death, a 16-year-old teen boy was also shot and killed in the chop zone. The two deaths finally led cops in early July to clear the protesters from the zone. Still, there was a protest and vandalism in the city on Monday night. The Seattle Times responded. Nearly 2 months after Lorenzo's death, Horace said, every morning I wake up and I miss him and I'm crying. Just today, I'm driving down the street crying, thinking about it, going to the dentist. The three claims are a precursor to filing a lawsuit, which Ocean says he and his client plan to do. They try to sweep stuff under the rug. I'm not here to be quiet. That's my son. I'm not going to be quiet for nothing. These people on the left who inflame this stuff, who encourage this stuff, I have complete and utter disdain for them. I see that shooting of Jacob Blake in Kenosha, which sparked all this mass rioting. And boy, am I shocked by it. And I hate it. I don't want anybody to get hurt. But come on. This guy was wanted on a felony warrant. You have to understand when the cops are coming, not always, but typically, when they're trying to arrest a man like Jacob Blake because he's got a warrant, it's because they don't want this to happen. Because innocent people's lives get destroyed. And now this guy, whose son is dead because of these extremists, has to drive for months now crying every morning, knowing his son will never come back. I can't even imagine that level of pain. And I don't want to have to look at a photo of a man feeling that way. I don't want to have to wake up and see videos of people with bullets in their heads. I know that those people who got shot in Kenosha, a lot of people have pointed out they're felons. Apparently all three of them were. One guy was a sex offender. One guy was a domestic abuser. One guy was part of some revolutionary group, got his bicep blown off. I'm glad that guy's alive. I see a lot of people, they post things online, and I understand they feel a cathartic release seeing these extremists getting comeuppance. I'm not happy about any of it. I don't want to see a video of a guy clutching his heart as he collapses and dies. I don't want to see a guy laying on the ground and getting his face stomped in. Because there are people all around them, and they're going to feel that pain. And they're going to go out, and that pain will spread like a virus. That anger will spread to other people. So you know what? It's got to be stopped. It has to be stopped. We can't allow these people to take over the CHAZ. We can't allow them to smash up windows and burn buildings down. I see this photo of a guy hugging a woman, maybe his wife, after his family's business was completely destroyed and he's nearly in tears. That's legacy. His family, everything he knows was gone and taken from him and destroyed. Now that pain will never be anything like what this man is feeling about his kid. People can get over the loss of a business. They can rebuild. You'll never get that person back. That person is a one in 10 billion. Reminds me of the line from the movie Watchmen, where Dr. Manhattan is becoming very cynical. Maybe you're not familiar, but the general context is, he says, out of everything in the universe, the various atoms and all the matter and the likelihood, the probability that all of these things could come together, and then you have a woman who has every reason to hate this man, conceives a child. That is a miracle. And what I got from that was that each and every individual, while you zoom out far away, everybody looks kind of the same. But the uniqueness of an individual can never be rebuilt. It can never be born again. That person, everything that person was is gone. This guy's son's never coming back, no matter what he does. Those businesses, they can come back. But it's still pain and suffering that must be stopped. What I'm trying to say is, I understand when these rioters are like, a person is dead and you care about a business. Yes, because I don't want people to suffer. I didn't want your friend to die, and I don't want that guy's building burnt down and destroyed. But I understand the pain for one is worse than the pain for another. But we have to stop it. We can't let it spread. I mean, some of these people in Minneapolis, one guy died in this building that burned down. So we can't allow it. I don't know if this guy's going to win, but I hope he gets something. And I hope this is a lesson to all these Democrat-run cities that you must stop the pain before it spreads, because it will only create more. I'll leave it there. My best of luck to this man in his endeavors, and I hope he finds peace. I got a couple more segments coming up in a few minutes, and I will see you all shortly.